Hello and welcome to Across the Formation in association with talkSPORT Bet. Ahead of the new NFL season, head over to talksport.bet for all the latest odds and everything else that you'll need from that respect. I'm Ollie Hunter. This is Across the Formation. Will Gavin and Sam Harris are with me. Boys, how are we? We are now an extra week from the Super Bowl, and it feels like we're sort of in the nether region of the the NFL kind of calendar. Yet there's
What?
still loads of stuff going on.
We're in the NFL gooch. Is that what you're saying? Don't bring it back. Don't bring it back.
We've still got until Christmas until we bring that back. Honestly, I am hating life right now. I sat down and watched the North London derby on Sunday and expecting big things from it, and it was just rubbish. It's a massive letdown. I realized how much I hate every other sport when the NFL season ends. It's just it's so depressing, man. And every year, this gap between the season ending and the season starting feels like it goes on longer and longer and longer. At least we've got a World Cup to chuck in the summer this time. Maybe that'll make it speed up a bit. But it's so depressing, man. I just need it back already.
I was chatting to a friend of the show, name clang Jordan Rodrigue, yesterday or the day before. She posted a picture of the famous shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo's, because they're all in Indianapolis for the Combine this week. And the tray that is served in, the dish that is served in, looks like a 90s pub fag ashtray. Like, it is just, it is properly like metal with holes around the edge to rest it on. Like, it's the sort of one you'd have outside because it was waterproof. It was just, so I was like questioning that. And then we were chatting back and forth about the Combine. I think because of the lull post Super Bowl, and because you can go there and get so much great stuff, because if we go in and got a table on their version of Radio Row, I think all 10 of the international teams in the UK would likely give us their head coach and general manager, or one or the other. Plus, there's so many journos around and stuff. So I'm starting, like, as the girls get older, as they start to do nursery and school, I'm wondering if maybe the Combine needs to become a necessary trip in order to just, keep the NFL-ness ticking over for me.
Are you asking if I fancy a trip to Indianapolis every year?
That's exactly what I heard.
I will take you up on that.
I'll tell you how it was described to me, which is the best and worst week of the year. I feel I've already revealed my sources, so it's not like I can pretend like it wasn't Jordan that said this to me.
Dob Jordan in.
I just absolutely dob Jordan in entirely. She said, it really takes a toll. She said, in truth, it's an extremely valuable week of reporting for chasing info, meeting with sources, etc. It's also a huge bleep show that gets overfilled with reporters. The nights are way too late. The morning's way too early. It takes a toll even without a drink in your hand, as everyone else at the late night bar circuit obviously will have. It sounds like my kind of week, guys. And and for me, it's not just that you're hanging around with football people for a week and drinking and making these trysts and becoming like friendly with these people. But on top of it, I don't have a Super Bowl to call at the end of the week. So I can actually enjoy myself without thinking, I've got to protect my voice.
You don't have to be sponsored by Manuka.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that'd be a great sponsorship for next
Wouldn't
year.
it?
Manuka and Vocal Zone, hit me up. Honestly, I even found myself today. So I sent off. I went when we were out in the States. On the Friday night after we'd gone and done there's like normally an international media drink soiree thing. Before we went to Green Day that night, I went out and went for to like a party with all of the sports travel companies. Free drinks, free food, mixed with some NFL fans from the UK. It's always a really nice time. But I got really chatting to this couple there, and the guy was like a proper like commentary and broadcast nerd. Had like favorite commentators, had like all this stuff that he loved. And so I'm sending him my Super Bowl notes, because I normally just recycle them at the end of the game. I'm just like, they're not a thing I keep for sentimentality. I keep a bit of tap from every Super Bowl for sentimentality. That's my whole thing. I don't keep the program. I don't keep any of that stuff, right? And what I found myself doing, and I'm going to post this on Instagram to tonight or tomorrow, is I did like a little guide to the commentary notes. I did like a little video for it. I'm going to post it online. I'm going to and so it's like, that gave me a little itch. That gave me a little, I got to scratch it a little bit by having that little bit of, nerdery. But I need some NFL in my life. There'll be loads of news coming out of the combine though that we get to react to on next week's show.
Yeah.
So
Maybe it might be worth speaking to Jordan, getting her diaries once she's finished, and we'll get her on. We can ask her.
I will drop her a note and see if she'll come on the show next week. How about that? I will literally type it as we're speaking about now. And because we're saying it on the podcast, she now has to do it. She can't resist.
It seems like a week where there's so many important people there that loads of deals that we'll find out about a couple of weeks' time get done, because these people are with each other all week, fancy dinners, probably regretting making some deals over a couple of drinks and then being held to it the following day and then having to maybe backtrack a bit. It just seems like it all happens in this really sleepy town of Indianapolis that they all love to go to each year, I think for that reason alone. But yeah, I think it would be good to speak to her and get some of the stories, or what she can share anyway.
And it's all about which GM's going to say what and who's going to do this. And yeah, it's there's a lot of intrigue, but it's almost like the stuff that we're going to say. And we're going to talk about our top free agents later on in the show, after we've heard from Michael Irvin, who Will Gavin spoke to.
So glad you're doing a menu, because we keep forgetting to do this at the top of the show. Like, tell you what's coming up on the show. It's not going to be three guys randomly chatting about how much they miss the NFL.
But we'll be doing all of those things. But the thing, like we're talking about the free agents, that could become out of date after the combine and everything that we talk about. So, look, we're going to talk about it anyway. That's because this is what this is. Across the formation, we bring you all our take on the NFL, but Michael Irvin as well. And we've got a little bit of news around the league. Will, as our resident international games expert, Munich, there's been some news out of Munich or into Munich, from the NFL, about who's playing there in the autumn.
Yeah, so Munich, what we think will be about week 9 or 10 of the season, so Sunday the 8th, Sunday the 15th of November. We believe it's around those weekends. Normally it's around the second or third weekend in Germany, which gives those teams going a really nice kind of week 10, week 11 type bye week. We were kind of expecting it to be the Atlanta Falcons as one of the kind of 10 teams in that region that has rights, and it had been long touted. Instead, they've announced that it's going to be the Detroit Lions as the first team who are taking part. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown, whose mother is German, spent nearly every summer of his youth in Germany, speaks fluent German. He was actually, I mentioned that international drink soiree, very funnily, while there was like a league representative at the front, one of the kind of the top dogs, did a little speech in front of everyone. Midway through, he shouted out Charlie Smith, who we were there with and chatting to. And then he said, and also don't forget from Germany, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And like, I saw a hand shoot up from maybe 3 feet away to my right. And it turned out I've been standing next to Amon-Ra St. Brown for the last like 15 minutes and I hadn't even realized he was there. It's probably a good thing.
You were there, though.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was about to say that.
I was a couple of tequilas deep at that point, so very, very, very possibly.
Really? what with pineapple with it? Oh, who knew?
Pineapple? No, I've been going a little lime and soda action while I'm on a bit of a weight loss journey, don't you know?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, one of those. That's for the video viewers only, not for the audio listeners. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, who said who was quoted by the Lions, said it's been a dream of mine to play a game in my mother's home country since coming to the league. We went to that first game in Munich. It's been there twice now at the Bayern Munich Stadium, and the Allianz is a phenomenal arena. The fans are amazing there. It's a great city to have it in as well, because you're just off the back of Oktoberfest, but the city is still very much teed up for having huge crowds, having big parties. Ollie and I had a very wild Sunday night in Munich. It was the night of the Justin Jefferson Vikings-Bills game, where Jefferson made like 3 unbelievable catches and they had that huge comeback. So it's a place that I have a huge amount of fondness for. The one thing that's interesting about the league is about these announcements, and they did the same for the Cowboys announcement. They've not announced them as the designated home team. They've announced them as one of the participating teams, which obviously opens up who they could be playing against, much more so than if they just got ahead and announced it's going to be XYZ. It does also mean that I'd heard it was going to be the Falcons, and it very much could still be the Falcons. It very much could be that we get Lions at Falcons, and they're announcing the Lions first because they want to really sell the Amon-Ra St. Brown stuff and everything else. You look at the teams they could face if they're at home. We could get Bucks Lions, Giants Lions, Patriots Lions. Patriots are on the road to a lot of the teams playing internationally this year. And also, if they do prove to be a road team, both the Falcons and the Panthers are on their road schedule and have international rights in Germany. So there's a few definite shouts there. I think, like, I really think it's probably going to be Lions Falcons, but Giants have been heavily touted as well.
Well, if you look at the amount of home games that they've got, it's 9 compared to the amount of away games, 8. So those home games: Giants, Titans, Jets, Tampa Bay, New England, New Orleans, and then the three NFC North teams. So I would lean towards it being a Giants kind of situation, and that would be interesting because we'd get John Harbaugh going back across the Atlantic. Will he throw another strop about having to go out there? Could we see Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans there, or the moribund New York Jets? It's really, really interesting. I couldn't really imagine the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wanting to go there again.
Although they are one of the German teams, aren't they? Right? Like
they are, but having lost already, and no, they lost in Frankfurt, didn't they? So,
it's worth opening up kind of wider on this, right? So, I think we're expecting this week. This is what happened last year, a little bit earlier in the year, but they announced all the European games in the same week. So they announced Germany one day, they announced Madrid another day, they announced London another day. So I think we're going to get the London announcement probably tomorrow or Thursday. And if we do, we will do like an emergency pod for it. We'll get the Madrid announcement as well. Madrid, we're very much expecting to be the Chicago Bears. They have the rights there. Roma Dunze was at an Atleti game this week and met a load of the players. Like, it's really teeing up that we're getting the Bears over in Madrid. And therefore, from what I understand of who the home teams are going to be this year, I fully expect the Commanders to be at Tottenham this year. That is just, you look at the rotation, you look at the teams there, possibly the Commanders and the Giants as 2 home teams at Tottenham is heavily speculated on. Yeah, I think that's almost certain. They announced that they were coming to Europe or internationally 2 months ago now. It was leaked out the Commanders were, so I suspect they'll be one of the Tottenham games. It's starting to round out nicely, but obviously as and when we get those announcements, we will do some reaction to.
I think if you're German as well, you got to be very happy with that. I think I mentioned it before, especially when we've done like our best chances of teams going from worst to first. I think Lions,
or is it first to worst?
Or first to worst, yeah. Well, I wouldn't necessarily they're going to go all the way up to first, but I definitely expect them to improve on what they did last year. So if you're a German NFL fan, I think you got to be happy.
Sorry, loved that. Look. I also, Amon-Ra St. Brown does have the German decal on the back of his helmet. I need to start making a real note of all of these #decal watch, which is
catch on.
You were the one who pointed out to me about Uchenna Nwosu having the Nigerian decal on the back of his helmet while we were doing that game, and I then went and got to speak to him about OC in the locker room, which was a lovely moment and got shared on social media. And OC sent me a message and said how much he appreciated it, and that was really cool. So stay on decal watch. Flags are your thing, right? We're looking for off-season content. We've got to do some kind of flag-based competition or game at some point.
#decal watch. Yeah, I love it.
Hunter loves a flag, if you don't know
I really
that
do love a flag. Look, New York, the Atlanta Falcons, you could be in Munich, and they've had a couple of bits of news. Kirk Cousins won't be returning. He could be, but he's being released in March at the beginning of March. And there's rumors that Kyle Pitts will be franchise tagged as well. Sam Harris, Kyle Pitts, it hasn't quite taken off the way that a lot of people thought it would when he was drafted in that first round.
No, I mean, he's become in fantasy circles a bit of a running joke, which is never really that fair because a lot of players don't necessarily have to be putting up fantasy numbers to do a job for a team. But I do feel that this was his career season so far, and it was the same year that he was hoping probably to get a new contract. So I think him being franchise tag works really well for the Falcons because they can probably hope that he's going to give them another year of production that he gave them this year. And I also think for Pitts, it probably works out better because I think a lot of teams around the league probably won't be giving him the sort of money he'd be expecting. I think all around, there's probably a good use of the franchise tag there. And I'm not a massive fan of it sometimes, but I think that one's it's probably a wise one for them to use.
I hate it from I was going to hate it from a team perspective, but I think Ollie was about to give the exact stat. My favourite Kyle Pitts stat, so I'll let Ollie cook.
Well, I don't know whether it is the same, but I was just going to say this season it's his most touchdowns that he's ever had in the NFL.
Well, do you know how many touchdowns he had this season?
5.
Yeah, he had 5 touchdowns. Do you know what year he's in?
The 5th year. Oh, I've just seen the stat. You do it.
In year one, he had 1 touchdown. In year 2, he had 2 touchdowns. In year 3, he had 3 touchdowns.
How many in year 4? How many in year 4?
It was 4 touchdowns. And in year 5. So franchise tag him, $15 million. You're guaranteed at least 6 touchdowns. So there you go.
Well, no, you're guaranteed 6
exactly
touchdowns.
6 touchdowns. Sorry, exactly 6 touchdowns.
6
It'd be
touchdowns.
amazing if in like year 12 of his career, he like set some kind of record for tight end touchdowns in the league because he just keeps on going. I'm intrigued on Kirk Cousins, right? I think when he came in for the very brief spot that we saw him last season, he showed that he still can operate an offense, even if it's not to the hugely high level. And actually, off the kind of injury he was coming off, the kind of devastating season ender, potential career ender, I think it was still very much a question of like, I think if he gets a preseason with a team, if he gets a real opportunity at run of it, if he's going to come back, I think he has a chance of actually being an okay starter in the NFL this year. So who does he land with? I've got a few ideas. Does he go to somewhere like back to the Vikings?
Yeah,
help them with JJ McCarthy? Does he go to somewhere like the Raiders? Is he happy to operate as a bridge quarterback while they get Fernando Mendoza up to NFL speed? Or would he want to avoid that after he went through with Kyle Pitts? Miami, could they afford him considering they've cut an absolute swathe of players in order to make space for that Tua Tagovailoa cap space that they're going to have to eat up? Or does he do the ultimate classy move and go to the New York Jets?
Oh,
sorry, I shouldn't have laughed.
No, you should have done. It deserved the laugh.
Yeah, there's Washington as well. Could kind of be the guy that Jaden Daniels sort of retains or gets back to health behind, and then gets switched out after 5 or 6 weeks. There's loads of opportunities. I just think with Kirk Cousins, there are other quarterbacks that potentially teams would want ahead of him, like a Daniel Jones, an Aaron Rodgers, or a Tua Tagovailoa, or someone coming out of the draft. You'd take a chance on them rather than a grizzled old free agent who has lost his legs.
The reason I think the Jets is because I think he is pretty desperate to start. Based on what we saw on quarterback, based on what we've seen from him, like he wants to go out and get an opportunity to start. And I think that is maybe the only place other than Minnesota where he's got a very good chance of starting. Everywhere else, he's going in to be some kind of some kind of bridge guy. And actually, like, we've not talked about it a huge amount on this. The Jets coaching moves bizarre this offseason, but actually Cousins in the Frank Reich offense, a lot of play action, turning his back to defense, reading it. Like, I think he's good number 1 receiver. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks, and a lot of them aren't very good. The Arizona Cardinals, like, what are they going to do this offseason? The Steelers are a better team, but are they going to go from Aaron Rodgers to a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers to 37-year-old Kirk Cousins? Like, the whole thing feels, it all feels a bit icky.
Steelers, they're definitely one for us to talk about in the off season. Steelers are a really interesting proposition, like all over what they're going to do at quarterback, Mike McCarthy, all of that stuff. Really, really interesting. Another player, and it leads us nicely on to Michael Irvin, but another player that is rumored to be franchise tags, and I think actually the Dallas Cowboys it would be madness to let him go, is George Pickens, their wide receiver, who it's 1A and 1B with him and CD Lamb in Dallas. Will, why don't you take us into Michael Irvin and your conversation with him on Radio Row?
Yeah, and look, that's how I want to do this, because I think we should hear from Michael Irvin first and then react off the back with our thoughts on Pickens, because what he says here about how he feels that George Pickens should approach this offseason, I think is fascinating. It's very inside Cowboys. Like, we know that Michael Irvin loves it. We know he still lives in Dallas. We know that he is, bleeds blue stars, but we start off by talking about his new Netflix series, White House, which is genuinely fascinating. A podcast about kind of mental health in post playing careers. And
sorry, he's called it White House.
He'll explain it. Allow him to explain it. It's it's a very, very interesting answer that he gives. But he starts off by talking about my accent. And I think it's fair to say this is an explosive way to start an interview.
Welcome back to Radio Row. I thought things were winding down on Thursday. I thought we were just taking our time and getting some stuff edited, and then suddenly a man walks up to me and says, "Would you like to interview an absolute superstar about his new Netflix series?" I said, "That sounds good to me." And it turns out that superstar is one of the very best wide receivers to ever do it. Multiple-time Super Bowl winner, Hall of Famer, and a bit of a legend. Michael Irvin, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing well, man. I love your accent, man. I want that accent, man. Every time I'm over there, man, I'd be like, darn, I wish I had this accent. You know, big black brother like me with that accent, man, I would create all kind of havoc. Boy, I'm telling you, I could tear them up.
Absolute chaos.
Chaos.
It's amazing. So we do the play-by-play for the game, and some of our clips have gone on like the NFL channels and gone viral this year, Jonathan Taylor and other bits. And I think it's just the accent. I'm not sure I'm even doing a good job, but I think people just hear the accent.
It's the accent, man.
I love it, man.
When I was over there, too, in the UK, when I'm over there, man, it was so funny, right? Because I'm walking around, and I love the accent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking people to talk to me, and they're looking at me like, I'm like, why are you looking at me like that, Tom? They said, we like your accent. I said, what accent? I don't have an accent. You have the accent. And I'm a dummy. And I realized, wait a minute, I guess I do sound different over here. I sound different. Then I tried to talk to everybody to see, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know that you know, you never consider yourself having an accent. You know what I mean? Because you do it all the time. But when I was there, I was like, oh, man, okay, this is good, man. I love the UK.
You had a great time over there. We had a great time hanging out with you briefly while you were there as well. And you're having a great time here. You're promoting your new show on Netflix, White House. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's White House, and a hell of a name, you know, because it's the name. I bet there's no one in the world that hasn't heard that name, the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And since I had my own White House in my playing days, you know, I thought, let's lean into this. Let's play with this. In the White House, you have what you call a situation room, right, where they go discuss situations. And in our White House, we have that. We have all the guys that have had situations, you know, the Brandon Marshalls, myself, the Michael Beasleys, the Charles Haleys. I really call it my ministry. Mm-hmm. You know, the Bible talks about how we should confess one to another, pray ye one for the other. In this we will find healing. The world tells you don't say anything and certainly don't share anything that you're going through. The reality is you're supposed to share what you're going through so we can help others that are going through it also. You know, so if we're coming in being transparent, speaking about our situations, openly talking about situations, then everybody sits down with us, come in the White House with us. They get a comfort to speak about their situations. And honestly, let's talk the real here. Men are dying 15, 20 years earlier than women are. Why? Why is that happening? Because we hold everything inside. We don't ever let anything out. The women, they are doing all of these they do little tea parties, even growing, hey girl, and they just talking and crying together, and we don't do none of that. And then we go. You know what I'm saying? So that's why
I just want to be clear, Michael Irvin, if you ever want to have a tea party with
right.
me, I'll have a tea party.
We'll have a tea party,
happy.
right. But that's the kicker, though. So you got to use sport. You guys know, men, it's all we want to do is talk sports.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to use sports as to crank up the car. That's the ignition. Now, the drive has to be about life. And then as we get into the drive, we talk about life and how we help each other as men. But I got to open the door through sports. That's the only way you can get men talking.
So who's on with you?
Brandon Marshall comes on with me, Michael Beasley, and everybody else comes on. You know, we have other guys on. I had, like I said, Charles Haley, Keyshawn. We're waiting on Jamar Chase right now. I'll go and sit down and talk with one of them, who's just one of the best in the NFL today. So, yeah, we get everybody in and just want to talk about everything.
I love it. Absolutely love it. But I am going to talk to you about sports because that is what we love
That's
to
what
do
it's about, sports.
You're right. How do you assess the Cowboys this season? First year under Brian Schottenheimer. I think they surprised a lot of people, even though obviously not getting to the level that many in Dallas would like to see.
Went to dinner. I was at dinner when I come out here Monday. So it was Sunday night. Saturday night, I was at dinner and was with Coach Schottenheimer over at Catch in Dallas. Great dinner. with the family, saw the family. And I told Coach then, I really love what I saw this year out of Dallas. There are some things that you certainly got to work on, but you got the base for a great offense. You just got to find the consistency in that offense, and then you go get the parts on that defense, and you can end up, honestly, in this game next year. Especially with that offense that can put up 35 to 40 points a game, they just got to find the consistency every week to go out and dominate.
I love what they did this season at the wide receiver position. George Pickens on the outside opening so much up. I mean, he's probably the first outside receiver that Dak's had since, Michael Gallup in 2021.
Right.
And it just opens up everything for CD. And when both are healthy, it's super exciting. I mean, are they going to have to do everything they can to retain that man and keep him in Dallas?
Right, and you're right. Dallas has to do everything they can to retain him. But I believe, and I'm going to state this, George has to do what he can to make sure that happens. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Michael Parsons didn't win in that with that trade. Dallas didn't win. Jerry Jones didn't win. Green Bay Packers got them a pretty good player.
Not a bad player.
Right, a great player. But Michael Parsons don't want to be in Green Bay. Every chance he gets, he's flying back to Dallas. So think about this. And the reason I say the only person who won was the agent, because the agent announced he got $47 million a year in new money. That means that don't start to this year. He played last year. So the reality is he didn't get $47 million a year. You spread it out using this year, it was $42 million a year. And Jerry was at 40 or 41. So you left your home, you left where you're going to spend the rest of your life for less than $1 million, and you're going to lose that in state taxes. So I'm just saying, George Pickens, who has the same agent, has to be smart enough and be in control of his own destiny and say, I'm not leaving Dallas. I've been looking for a quarterback and waiting to have this kind of season all my career, and I had it. And now that I find it, I'm not letting nobody make me leave Dallas. You'll get a great deal, and you'll have a great career. But the player has to also step up to make sure that happens.
And I'm totally with you. And here's the reason I think he does do that. Because George Pickens, the knock on him before he went to Dallas was that on the plays where he's not targeted, he's not running those routes. He's not blocking. By about week 7 or 8, I remember we did a Dallas game on TV, and that guy is blocking like he's in a Kyle Shanahan system and he's a third choice, fourth choice receiver, right? And he was just, you could see the passion, you could see the love was there. And I think it would be stupid to let him out the door no matter what that looks like, but I think I'm with you.
On every side. It's stupid on the Cowboys side. It's stupid on his side. It'll be stupid for the agent to get him out of here. You can't tell me you care about his kid and you go and send him someplace that doesn't have a quarterback and you don't know what kind of way it's going to work out when you know this kid has had some things going on and now he's finally found a home. We got to get this thing about the player, and the player has to make sure it's about him and not the agent.
I love that you still live and spend time in the area. We had Darren Woodson on earlier, still lives in the area. Troy still lives in the area. Like, what does that say about the Cowboys, particularly your era, but that, like, guys love the place, love to play for the team, stay, and then stay there afterwards?
And you're right, because you get treated like a king. We delivered so many championships and so many great moments. No matter where you go, people treat you like a king. That means something. Like, okay, do I want 10 years of playing or in some city, or do I want 50 years? I'm at 50 years in Dallas, not just the 10 I played, but the other 40 living there, you know what I mean? Because you get to use it and live off of it for the rest of your life. So absolutely. Dallas is such a great place. It's a great place, man. We all stay there. And you know what? We're all still great friends to this day.
I love that.
We've never had an issue. We've never had a problem. Troy, Emmett, and all these guys, we were group text, and it took them a minute. They all funny. It took them a minute. I always say, whenever we get ready to hang up, hey, I love you guys, man. I love you guys. Love you. And Troy like, yes. First they would give you just a thumbs up. But now it's been enough years. They all finally started saying, everybody, love you, man, we love you. So we say we love you all the time to each other.
Great.
But Troy was probably the tough one to crack on that. He was just, I got y'all. Like, I got you. But we're at that place, man. It's the greatest thing in the world to have still those friendships after you've had those great moments because they bind you forever.
With Troy, there was a lot of talk at times about could he be part of that front office in Dallas? Would Jerry ever bring him in? He hinted at it at times. Could you ever see that happening? Could you ever see him becoming part
I would have loved to see that happen. I really would have. And I see Troy now helps out with the Dolphins and everything and as a consultant and everything. But I think Troy's invaluable. And he could be such valuable information for anybody. When I get these teams, they're looking for head coaches, and they're always talking about, well, we're going to go and do a search and have a firm do a search. I'm like, what are you talking about? Just talk to the guys that do the game. Talk to the Troy Aikmans and the Tony Romos, the Tom Bradys. That's who you find out about coaches from, because they have to sit with those coaches and talk the scheme, the plans, and not just X's and O's. You got coaches, there are great coaches that are X and O coaches, but there are great coaches that's Jimmy and Joe's coaches, and what you really want as a head coach is a great X and O that can Jimmy and Joe. I want you to draw up the plays, but I want you to know how to go get the best out of each player, to run those plays, and that's the kicker. That's what you want to try to find. And who better to find out who those guys are than the guys that talk to them every week before games. That's why Troy's is just valuable information to use a Troy Aikman.
I absolutely love that. And talking to a guy who's been coaching, another buddy of yours, Deion Sanders, what have you made of his journey into coaching? Could he ever be a Cowboy coach? Like, I love the idea of it. In my mind, it's so blockbuster. It's so Hollywood.
It would be. Oh, my God. I've had that idea, too. I thought about it and really wanted it to happen. Especially, I'm going to tell you, I went so far as to breaking it down all the way. It's been 30 years since the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. And really, the Bible speaks of a generation in 40 years. 40 years is a generation. So in another 10 years, it's like, man, this whole generation missed a Cowboy winning a Super Bowl. So you risk losing a huge fan base. The reason you get attached to your team so great is because you get to experience the glory of a championship story. And you're like, man, I can't wait to do that. I want to do it again. And if you never had that experience, how can you be engrafted with your team? And I was like, well, even since we haven't had it and we want to keep the young audience, Deion is great with the young audience because he on his social media. He's great with it. So I thought that would have been a great hire. But that didn't happen.
I'm not suggesting he should replace Brian Sean.
Right. Well, no, me and you were on the same page. Remember, I was trying to get the job for Deion before they hired Brian Schottenheimer. So Brian had to win me over. And I'm saying he did win me over, but I was trying to get time in here too, trust me.
Last one from me, and we'll just mention White House again, but you talked about Jamar Chase being one of the best in the league. Give me your top 3 receivers you love watching in the NFL right now.
And I love you ask the question because I want to break it down for you this way. You remember we watched Cooper Kupp in that
jersey right behind you
there. Bay, huh? Yeah, it's a bad boy. It's a bad boy. Cooper Kupp went off, man. And I'm going to tell you something. Now what you see, you got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, and JSN. All 4 of those guys now, for their offense, they're the Cooper Kupps for their offense. And they're all running the same offense. And they put those guys in position to win. And those 4 right now are the top receivers in the National Football League. I'll throw CeeDee Lamb in there also. But they all run the same system, and they run the same position, and they are devastatingly incredible, because they all know how to beat you man to man, but they also have a system that beats you system to system. What I mean by that, like when we played the Jerry Rices, I remember playing Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice used to do a go in motion and then come back out and run to the end corner of the end zone. See, that's a scheme. He's not beating just his man. That's a scheme because his man is going to get picked. You know what I mean? So the scheme got Jerry open. Jerry Rice can beat you man to man. all the 4 of those guys I just mentioned, Puka, JSN, Jamar, and Justin Jefferson, can beat you man to man. But you put them in this kind of system, then its doors off. It blows everything up. So those would be my top 4 right now.
Speaking about a man who could beat you man to man, could beat you with system, could beat you in any way, shape or form, Mike Irvin, thank you so much for your time. The White House Wants More on Netflix. When are we seeing it? Is it out now? Is it out soon?
It's out now 2 times a week on Netflix. So you just tune in, man. I told Jimmy Kimmel last night, I was on Jimmy Kimmel, I said, you can come and talk the situation, and you can talk, come to my White House, and you could talk about the situation you had with his White House, with Trump White House. And then I told Jimmy, I said, at least everybody that came to my White House left with a happy ending. I don't know what they do at his White House, but usually in the end at my White House, everybody's happy. You see what I'm saying. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you so much, brother. That was absolutely wonderful.
Michael Irvin, what an absolute superstar.
Not a bad first guest to have on the show, as we've just been doing it, the 3 of us so far.
Nice
Hall of Famer, top 10 all-time wide receiver. Might be being harsh to him, could be top 5.
You can tell he's a Hall of Famer as well. Just in the way that he kind of spoke about that Pickens thing, it was kind of almost like a bit of direct reverse psychology aimed directly at Pickens. Like, come on, mate, you know how big we are. Come and be a legend here. Don't go elsewhere. You're never going to get better than this. The lights might be a bit shiny over there. You might have a few more pound notes. Stay with us and become a legend. Not just probably the Cowboys, but if he was to get them a ring, or be a part of getting them a ring, I mean, then that's his name written in the history books for life. And I think there's a cool way of being like, look, remember who you are, but this is who you could be.
The problem is,
go on,
the big problem I have with what he said is
that he dug out your guy Micah Parsons.
No, it's not even that at all. But yeah, I'll see you later, Michael Irvin. No, it's not that. The problem I've got with it is that the exact team that Michael Irvin is saying don't go and join because you could stay with the Dallas Cowboys is the team that I think the Dallas Cowboys are. All right, they've got a really good quarterback, but I don't think they're a team that are contenders next season. So why would he stay at a team on a team-friendly deal that aren't contenders? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. His argument is that their offense will be good enough to take them to the Super Bowl, but I still think they need to have a real good look. That defense needs to improve a lot.
I've got to tell you, I think I'm higher on the Cowboys than you guys. As much as I hated the Micah Parsons move, I think turning Quinnen Williams turning one of those picks into Quinnen Williams, I think has been a real big boost for their line. They're retaining a lot of the talent on that side of the ball. Christian Parker's a guy that you should be excited about if you're a Cowboys fan. And Brian Schottenheimer, I think, was one of the biggest surprises in the league last season. Add to that the fact that they're in an NFC East where, okay, the Eagles are more talented on paper, but they also can't get the F out of their own way. They're constantly causing their own problems. I don't think the Commanders are going to be a great team this year. I think the Giants are in this rebuild and Harbaugh gives them a floor and they've got some talent, but I'm not expecting them to be a 10, 11, 12-win team all of a sudden. The Cowboys should be able to win this division with only a slight uptick in their quality. And for me, the biggest thing I saw from Pickens this season, and I think about going back to how he was in Pittsburgh and how he was in week 1 for the Cowboys. And then we did Cowboys Broncos on Channel 5 in week 8, 9 of the season, somewhere around there, as one of the 9 p.m. games. And I went back and I watched a bunch of Pickens film from the season so far because I knew we were going to be talking about him in the build-up. And what really stood out to me is this is a guy who had a real tendency in his career to take plays off. A real tendency to, if the ball wasn't coming his way, he's not going out there and throwing blocks. He's not selling his routes. He's not making a defense believe the ball could be coming his way. And by the time we got to week 8 or week 9 of last season, he'd fully bought in. I don't know what Brian Schottenheimer had said to him. I don't know whether it was working with Dak Prescott on a good quarterback, but he was blocking like he was working in a McVay or Shanahan system. He was a guy who had seemed to really, and that's why, as much as Michael Irvin, the reasoning behind his argument might be a little flawed, the whole stay in Dallas, you can be a legend thing. Everyone says that. Raiders players tell you that all of the time. Stay in Las Vegas, be a Raider for life. You also are going to lose 10 games a season for the next 5 years, probably.
Just ask Max Crosby.
Quite. But for the reason that it seems to be such a good fit for him. And if he can get so the franchise tag's $28 million they expect this year. It's no chump change. I don't see him as a player who gets more than 20 to 24 average if he signs like a 4-year deal. I think the best thing is put him on the tag now, but by mid-July you need to get a long-term deal done. I don't want to be waiting for next off-season and have a bigger faff around it. The problem is it's Jerry Jones and he is a king.
Yeah.
He is a faff king.
Yeah.
And look, they've got all of these draft picks from that Parsons deal as well, the extra one from Green Bay. But my problem, again, Jerry Jones doesn't have that great a record in draft picks. And, stumbled on Dak Prescott. It just happened that he was good when Tony Romo went out, and they kept him.
They had a 3 or 4 year stretch where they drafted really well, and then it dropped off again. And they tend to go through these cycles. The Cowboys,
Yeah.
like you think about that offensive line and how good it was for a long stretch of time. Those were all draft picks, right? But it is very up and down, and I think we've had a couple of down years based on what we've seen from the rookies so far. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So look, I think it's more of a coin flip. For me, I get where you're coming from, and with the NFC East, the NFC, the NFC East being a bit up in the air as well. But I don't know. I don't agree with you, Michael. But let's agree to disagree. I think. Look, let's move on to the free agents list. Now, Will, you sent over a tweet from Justice Mosqueda, who
I'm sure he will love that pronunciation, unless he's very American about it and goes, no, it's pronounced Mosqueda. I don't know why was he Australian? What's just happened?
It's pronounced Justin Mosqueda, mate.
I spent too much time with those ESPN Australian wonks while we were out in.
Now, he's come up with the top 100 free agents, the consensus of it. I think he's a Packers fan, so he's picked out some of the Packers players. 4 of them make the top 100. I know our friend Greg Rosenthal, Triple G of NFL Daily fame, has got a rogue choice at number 1. But let's just go through the top 10 and see if there are any kind of players that make sense or don't and whatnot. George Pickens at number 1, Trey Hendrickson 2, Tyler Lindenbaum at 3, Jalen Phillips at 4, Alec Pierce, from one of Sam Harris's teams, that's number 5. Breece Hall, who the Jets GM today has said that he might get franchise tagged, so that's interesting, at number 6. Daniel Jones at 7. Sorry, Sam, but he has to be retained. Devin Lloyd at 8, Rasheed Walker at 9, and then we spoke about him earlier on in the show, Kyle Pitts at 10. What stands out for you, apart from your 2 players there?
I'd like to hear Sam's thoughts on Daniel Jones.
Okay, yeah.
Look, I know they will keep hold of him. It's a tough one. You can't. With how
are they
well
tag
he did,
him?
I don't think so. I think they probably want to get him secured. I think as well they kind of got a bit of bartering room with this injury where they might be able to shave off a bit of money on the deal. I think it would be just another. We've gone through how many quarterbacks in how many years? I think it's like 13 have started since Andrew Luck retired. This looked like someone that we could have maybe put our faith and hope into. And I think they would be stupid to be like, you know what, all that we saw in the first 9 to 10 weeks, we're just going to disregard that now and then maybe to make them go for it in the draft, which also, by the way, we haven't got any first round picks for the next 2 years. It makes sense to do it. Again, I loved what I saw at the start. I knew in the back of my mind it was going to go south at some point, and not because of an injury. I thought just something was going to happen. I still thought Daniel Jones might lose the Indiana Jones nickname and go back to whatever ones that the Giants fans probably known him better for. I think it would be so silly, especially just as I said, how many quarterbacks we've gone through for us to go elsewhere. I don't think Riley Leonard, he's had one opportunity at the end of the season when Phillip Rivers came to the end of his three-game season comeback. I think that's the direction they'll go in, and I honestly don't blame them. I think our GM's probably facing his final season this year if stuff doesn't go right, and for him to gamble on a new quarterback would probably be the end of him, full stop. So yeah, I can see us giving him a deal.
There's a few things that jump out to me from this list. Trey Hendrickson feels high to me. As much as I'd love to get Trey Hendrickson on a 1-year deal at my team, I do feel like you want to get him on a 1-year team-friendly deal because of his injury history, because of his age, because of everything else. And I do wonder if actually the Bengals opened themselves up to do some form of tagging based on what they did last season. So, like, I wonder if he moved. If I look at the people on this list who are likely to move, I think Jalen Phillips is one. As much as he was great at the Eagles in that stretch, I think what he did was he was so good in that 8 or 9 games and lifted that defense to such a level that actually he really opened up the market for himself and will go out and test that. I think Rashid Walker's too high on the list. I think that's very positional based. I wouldn't have him as a top 10 guy, but I'm not being necessarily negative on the player because he's probably the best tackle out there available. But I think just because he's the best tackle available doesn't mean he's better than a lot of other guys on the list. I also, and I suspect Sam has strong feelings on this as well, I would have Kenneth Walker above Breece Hall.
So would I. Yeah. I mean, when before we were doing our little pre-game conversation, I was curious to find out where he was put on that list, and yeah, he was put 11th, so he is on the outside, just about looking in. But I would have him. Yeah, of course, he's won a Super Bowl, got MVP. Breece Hall's been playing at the Jets. I mean, yeah, he's probably been their best player since he was drafted. But my God, Kenneth Walker's got to be above Breece Hall.
Breece Hall it's a lot of open field flash. It's a lot of like, he gets the big touchdowns. He's got such breakneck speed, but that's something you lose quicker. Kenneth Walker's such an interesting runner. He can be so violent, but also so elusive. And what I like is at the Super Bowl, he showed people what he can do. I mean, again, I think the Seahawks should try and retain him. I look at a lot of this top 10 list and think, God, they need to try and retain them. But
Linderbaum, I think, is another one. I think there's a few teams that need centers. I think I'd agree with him being that high up the list. I said
it 2 weeks ago. He would be my number one with a bullet if I could pick somebody for the 49ers. Like, yeah, they've said they're not going to go big in free agency. Like, they've already talked about like they're aiming for the draft and maybe a trade or two. But yeah, he's the one that I really like him on this list. I get Pickens being first. What do you make of like Greg? And I don't want to call out Greg. He's my buddy.
Call him out.
He's a great guy. And
Say it with your chest.
And I fully understand the reasoning of quarterbacks are the most valuable people, right? But Malik Willis threw 36 passes and is somehow going to earn himself 2 years, $60 million this offseason from some team looking for a starter in a bad quarterback market. Greg has him as his number one top free agent in this class.
There's a saying for that, isn't there?
I'm not. Whoa, harsh. Yeah, maybe.
Say it, Ollie.
No, you do it.
Go on. You bottled it. It's a bit clickbaity.
Whoa. I mean, I kind of agree.
Greg,
but
I love you.
Look,
my point is I get the reasoning, but Malik Willis is not. He had one really great game, and he was really great. But to have him the top of this
Ollie,
list,
you're one that can tell us more.
I think it's quite clear that he'll end up at the Miami Dolphins with their head coach that left Green Bay as the defensive coordinator to go to Miami Dolphins. Remind me of his name, Will Gavin.
Are you absolutely just completely like ruling Jeff Hafley out of your life now? Like,
Jeff Hafley. There we go. Yeah, exactly. He's dead to me.
He's scorned next.
I'll tell you one of my favorite interviews from Radio Row this year, by the way, and one that we'll definitely be bringing you during the off season, because we did a lot of timeless ones, right? That we specifically, they won't be perfectly timeless because these teams will make moves, etc. But on the first day we were there, we spoke with Evan Williams, the young Packers safety, who's a second-year guy now going into his third year. That defense with him and Xavier McKinney and bringing old Bobby Babich over from the Bills, I think I am really high on that Packers defense this year. Like
Evan Williams
even
had a
higher
really
than
good,
last year,
and he had a really good back end.
Hafley, really good on him,
and he had a really good back end of the season. Any time that he went out injured, you could really tell that he'd gone out injured as well. But on Malik Willis, you're right. He had a couple of flashes when he came in for Jordan Love. Love had a couple of concussions. The Chicago Bears game almost took us back to win that game. He hasn't had an interception since his first year in the NFL in 2022. He hasn't thrown that many passes, but he has looked really good. And I think what's really key is that dual threat ability. It felt like at times over the last couple of seasons, Matt LaFleur really got deep into his playbook to utilize Malik Willis in a way that he didn't turn the ball over. And we saw that he didn't turn the ball over, but he was a different QB to Jordan Love in the fact that he's far more willing to use his legs. He's far more elusive. And I think that's what Greg Rosenthal is probably looking at but the sample size is so small that putting him at number one is a bit clickbaity. But I love it. I love it because it's a Packers player, a former Packers player that it should be, that I think could do really well. We just don't know what the ceiling is for Malik Willis yet. Has he hit it already, or will he go beyond it? It's really, really exciting.
If I look at the 10, I think there's realistically 3 or 4 who could be on a new team. Like Trey Hendrickson, we've already mentioned. Tyler Linderbaum, I think the Ravens should move heaven and earth to keep him, particularly with their new offensive scheme coming in. Jalen Phillips, I think, is a genuine good chance to move. Alec Pierce, particularly with the Daniel Jones situation, I think has a very good chance to move. Same with Breece Hall. Like Devin Lloyd, the Jags shouldn't let him out of the building. You saw the difference in that defense when he was out of that team and when he wasn't. He's the heart and soul of that team at middle linebacker. And Pitts, obviously, we expect to be franchise tagged. Is there anyone outside of that top 10 who, like, you're super excited to see where they land? Like, I love John Franklin Myers, for example, on the I think he had a brilliant year this year, and I'm really excited to see where he lands. I think the other one there was one other one that really caught my eye when I was looking through that I thought feels very low. I thought Jermaine Illuminor should have been higher. When I talked about the Rasheed Walker thing, I thought he was excellent this year. And again, the Giants should not let him out of the building.
I think he's getting better with age. He was good for the New England Patriots. New England Patriots the year before, he was good, and then got better with the New York Giants on a team where he was the leader of that offensive line when you had Jackson darting all over the place and then getting concussions. But it was Illuminor, like a really, really good player for Dart to have in front of him. So yeah, I agree with you. The British raised guy, he was not British born, but British raised guy, really cool. 44? I think that's a little bit low for Jermaine there. Sam Harris, anyone else that kind of catches your eye at all?
Yeah, couple of wide receivers. We spoke about him last week, and Mike Evans. I think if you're a contender, he would be an incredible pickup for you, just in terms of his experience. He's won a ring before. He's played under some really good quarterbacks, and I think he would be a great pickup. Another one as well is Wan'Dale Robinson. I know he's played for the Sinking Giants, and he's had a few different quarterbacks since he's been there, but I think he could be a real nice second or third piece. If the Colts were to lose Pierce, I wouldn't mind us looking at him ourselves, to be honest.
Do you remember when we talked about this podcast and during the off-season we were just going to have fun and do silly things, and now we're just doing serious football analysis again?
I know.
I hope the people are loving this, because this is some good stuff. I'm loving this from you guys.
I'll give you a little bit of silly, and going back to
we've got so much time for silly. We've got 7 months of silly when we need to use it. Don't you worry about that.
Well, at some point we're gonna have to talk about Fernando Mendoza and where he goes, and it obviously will be the Las Vegas Raiders. But who will he sit behind? Will he sit behind anyone? Number 33 on this free agents list. It's Aaron Rodgers. We've got also to have.
You're so determined about this Rodgers to the Raiders thing. He's not going to go to a team where they are drafting the number one overall quarterback. His ego will not allow it.
Ollie, if you can manage to somehow shoehorn that take into every episode we do by the most weird routes, I will be here for it.
I'm going to bid and try my very best to get an interview with Fernando Mendoza, or to get on some kind of round table with him or something like that. Let's go out to Pittsburgh and let's interview him after he's been picked.
Yeah.
And say to him, how would you feel about playing behind Aaron Rodgers?
Just for a year, you and Aaron. Yeah, look what it did for Jordan Love. Look, there's loads of stuff that we've got planned coming up for this new season. I want to do like an Ollie recommends, or around across the formation, not around the NFL, across the formation recommends like some sort of something. What are you doing with your Sundays now that the NFL season's over? I'm going to come next week with something that I've watched, and it'll be like a little review and a little. We'll dissect it and talk about exactly what I'm bringing to the table. But I think each one of us will bring something each week, and that'll fill 10 minutes.
What I would like as well for our listeners as well is get stuck into us now over the off season. Our email address is acrosstheformation@gmail.com. Same on Instagram. If there's anything you'd like us to touch on or talk about, please do let us know, because we would love to hear what you think.
Guys, wonderful stuff. I'm excited. There'll be an announcement in the coming days, and we'll do another show just specifically about that announcement. But in the meantime, good work, Ollie.
Yeah,
Good
thank
work.
you very much, both of you. And no doubt we will speak in the week because something's a brewing. We can feel it in our waters that something's happening with these international games. I can't wait to find out. I'm really, really pumped. Who are we going to get? Who's London going to get? What's going to happen in Madrid, Paris, Brazil? It's like that. It's like that song. What's that song? You know the song.
Just wrap it, darling.
Let's wrap it up. This has been Across the Formation with me, Ollie Hunter, Will Gavin, Sam Harris, and we will see you next week.
And our friends at talkSPORT Bet. Go to talksportbet.com/NFL. Check out the latest deals. There we go.